to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift, CKLU 96.7 FM and CKLU.ca. So one's the radio in your car, the other one's online wherever you are at, so you can stream us there. You can also click on the Radio Player Canada app and download it and take us with you and listen to us anywhere, any place on your favorite device. And as many, try and keep in touch with Sudbury, they do so through CKLU online, CKLU.ca, by streaming us and listening to us on the Radio Player Canada app. And that's one way that you can keep in touch if you're not living in Sudbury anymore and you used to, and you're just wondering what the heck's going on here. CKLU is a great way just to, listen to some of the local stories happening and things of that nature. So that's interesting, what's happening here with my Facebook. Every day something new. It's fun and exciting. Finally, it's allowing me to do something. Okay, that's good. So we're going to have a great show today. The weekend just happened. And speaking of Facebook, we're live on Facebook streaming, facebook.com/Sudbury News for the time being, and youtube.com/Sudbury News for the time being as well. Make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And mainly comment, because this is your show on your station, and this is your conversation, and I'm just facilitating it. We talk about news, weather, sports as it pertains to Greater Sudbury, and then we take a broader view, let's say, to the region, the province, the country, and international things that are going on, and we comment on these things. A lot of, even if you're not from Greater Sudbury, they could apply to you, and so we welcome you and your comments on the show. We'll do our best to read them for the radio and streaming, but also get them up on the screen for those watching on YouTube and Facebook. Also, the video goes up on our Twitter at X, I guess, but it's twitter.com/Sudbury News. You can find the video there later, along with YouTube and Facebook. Let's dive right in. Got lots to talk about today. A lot of people are joining us. I guess there's a lot of people up this Monday morning. I kind of came in feeling a little bit drab, if you will, a little bit lethargic. And I thought, oh my goodness, it just feels like I'm in molasses today. But it looks like there's a lot of people who are up and ready to go. So let's just dive right in. We'll start off with a little bit of weather. We'll get into seeing how the Sudbury Wolves did this weekend and what they're up to this week. And news headlines from here. A little deep dive into Canada. Municipal politics. We had 3 councillors on last week on Wednesday. We will have them on subsequently in the future, talking about our municipal politics. But we'll take a dive into what municipal politics is kind of becoming, and ideologically, like where they stand and what we see in our local communities in terms of local politics and what's been happening, and some councillors who are brave, standing up to powers that be, and trying to take a stand for the people they represent. And it's a very uncommon thing, and we'll see what happens when you do that, the pushback that you get. And it's always good to stand up for what you believe in and allow others to do the same, I think, I'd add there. Don't cancel everybody out of the world, so you're just left to your own, and then it's a pretty boring world after that. But yeah, stand up for what you believe in, say your piece, and allow others to do the same, I think, to be respectful. And yeah, so we'll have that a little bit later after local news headlines. Will be back after the weather. Right here in Greater Sudbury, currently it is 0 degrees. Your weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Yes, feels like -4. However, today mainly cloudy with 40% chance of flurries. High of +3. And tonight, partly cloudy, 30% chance of flurries in the evening. If you were anything like me, getting up this morning, you had a little bit of crustacean ice on your car that you had to scrape off. Luckily, it was easy enough to do. But again, the winter is starting. Make sure you get your winter tires on and all that stuff. Get your car prepared. Get yourself prepared. Get all your clothing and things that you're going to need. Make sure your shovel's handy, just in case that first blizzard that you get where you're barricaded in your house, stuff like that. Yes, that happens in Greater Sudbury. And we are in that time of year where it could happen anytime. So just make sure you're prepared for that. So that's tonight. Wind chill will be -7 overnight. And then tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud. Winds only 15 kilometers an hour. So high 0, but the wind chill will be also -7 in the morning. And then on Wednesday, it's sunny. +2 is your high. We need that sun. And but then again, Thursday, chance of rain or flurries. Again, 60% chance with only a high of 4. Same thing, 30% chance of flurries or rain on Friday, high of 2, and then cloudy. 3 and 1 are your high Saturday and Sunday. So cold, as we would expect it to be around this time of year. I look at the satellite at about 3:30 a.m. today. If you're on the radio and you can't see it, there's just it's a mess of clouds and activity and stuff all over Ontario and in the area. So that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of a sports update, how the Wolves did and what they're going to be doing this week, right after this. And your Sudbury Wolves were in action on Friday and Sunday. Friday here in town and then Sunday in North Bay. Sudbury Sports brought to you by SudburySports.com. So good news on Friday. The only time that the Flint Firebirds were in town, the Sudbury Wolves came up with a W. Great game. They faced a tough goaltender, but managed to be creative enough and get 5 goals. And they beat the Flint Firebirds 5-2 was your final. That was Friday. So they were all full of vinegar and vim as they went to North Bay on Sunday. And after the third period, it was Sudbury Wolves 3, North Bay Battalion 1. And then following the second period, it was 4 for North Bay, 3 for Sudbury. And then it ended 5-4. Close game. And we had a bit of a good beginning to it, but it didn't end very well. However, we got 1 win, 1 loss, and we're looking pretty good. We have a really great team this year, and they'll have a chance for redemption this Wednesday against the North Bay Battalion here in our barn instead of there. We'll see if that yields a different result. So make sure to get your tickets. Puck drop 7:05 for that game, and that will be a Wednesday game. And then Friday, Niagara's in town, 7:05 puck drop as well. And then they're off on the road the following week for like 4 games. So make sure to get out, support your Sudbury Wolves this Wednesday and this Friday. And that's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. We'll be back with your comments, news headlines, and our deep dive into what municipal politics looks like in this country and why it is what it is. And does it have to be that way? You'll see when it comes. And I guarantee you, stick around to the end It's definitely worth it. Okay, we'll be back right after this. All right, and we are back, and we do have quite a few people joining us this morning. And right back, and as the front runner on Facebook, Judy is first to the party this morning. Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Denise, good morning, everyone. Hope you are all having a great morning. Marianne from Barrie, good morning, everyone from Barrie. Liked and shared. Thank you so much, Marianne. And Steve joining us this morning. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for being here. Denise as well. Good morning from Espanola. Hope you're having, we got a story in the headlines here from Espanola this morning. Belinda says, good morning. To the world, you are one person, but to one person, you are the world. Wow. These are good, man. I'm going to have to be writing these down and saving them for a good purpose someday. They're going to come in handy. So again, thanks, Belinda, for that. And Monique says, good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley sunshine emoji. Denise, I see you. I see me. Good stuff. Do some jumping jacks. Good morning. Heart emoji from Danica. Great to have you with us, and keep the positive emojis coming. Belinda says, the simple step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie. And that's really opening it up for what we'll be talking about later on with municipal politics, because there seems to be this idea that there's a consensus of the way everyone should be all the time. It's a culture thing, right? That everyone needs to support Ukraine. Everyone needs to. There's no reason not to. If you don't, you're a Nazi. But then they invite a Ukrainian to the Parliament building and give him applause, but he's a Nazi. It's just so weird. We live in a weird world. So yeah, it's like, it's all designed, I think. It's what they call groupthink. And, if the consensus is, one thing, it's hard to go against the grain, right? Remember that old show, where they, again, it's a video show where they make up this false, and for some reason my brain goes blank sometimes, where they try and trick people on camera, candid camera, man. Monday morning. Anyways, so one of the episodes, there was an elevator and the person goes to get into it, and everybody's facing the back wall. When you get in an elevator, everyone's facing you, right? And they're ready to click whatever floor they want to go on. But in this particular case, the elevator door opens and everybody's facing the back wall. And, and they do this to multiple individuals just to see the different reactions. They don't just do it to one person. And I think they did it to about 5 people, and all 5 got in the elevator. And instead of facing the door like you would normally do, because they got in and there was like 6 or 7 people facing the back, what did they do? They just turned around, faced the back like everyone else. Not questioning, not saying, well, this isn't right. Even though everyone's doing it, it still doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm just going to face the way I normally do in an elevator. Another one was a doctor's office. And so the people walk in the doctor's office and everyone's in their underwear, sitting in the waiting room. So the individuals, I think a couple of them refused to take off their clothes because that's a little bit more uncomfortable, I think. But I think the majority of them started undressing and putting their clothes up or they saw other people's clothes kind of on hangers. Incredible. It's just a great social experiment of how human beings are. And instead of just thinking for yourself and making correct decisions, regardless of what everyone else is doing, you know what your parents used to say, if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? It's that simple of a thing, right? Because you would, as a teenager, try and get things from your parents, obviously. Most children would do that. Yeah, but Timmy gets to do it, or Jane does this. Why can't I, right? And it is what it is. We're funny people, but it's not funny when it comes to decisions that are made to govern our cities, our provinces, our regions, our countries, our world. When this thing starts happening and you don't have good leadership that are able to think for themselves and make decisions that are based on true principles that are meant to be in the best interest of those that they are elected to govern or to represent, then it's not funny anymore. Actually, it's funny on candid camera, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Exactly. I go to the beat of my own drum. Yeah, that's a good beat. And Belinda says, humanity has to understand that no one has power over them unless you give it to them. And that's true as well. And good morning, David. Stay safe. Take care. Stay safe. Yes. And you too as well. Hoping that you're on your way to a quick recovery there. So this is, we're getting in, it's Halloween in a couple days here in Sudbury and Canada and North America and much of the world. Whether you believe in it or not, and it is what it is. There's a lot of people who say where Halloween comes from, and it's, it has interesting backgrounds and stuff if you look into it. I'm tired of biting my tongue. That's Denise. Halloween, we kind of go out, we just look at it as the trick or treat thing for the kids. You dress up like someone, you go, you get some candy and whatever. We don't treat it any different than that. And it's fun for the kids, and we're not worshiping Satan or anything like that. It's not what we're doing. In fact, it's the opposite in our daily lives, and try and keep things real. And we explain to our children this type of thing, like what it is, and you can participate if you want or not. In Christmas with our first child, we told them there was this kind of big fat guy in a red suit, and it was real. And then we said, you know what? Yeah. And then for our other children, we just said, we're just going to explain what's going on. And, and I kind of like that approach a little bit more, because it's kind of like you're tricking your children or something. I'm hoping kitties don't have snow, and I am too. But it's, it's forecasted. Flurries are forecasted for, maybe not so much tomorrow, but they're coming. And look at this morning. But at least we're not like Alberta. Alberta really got it bad. But after Halloween, we kind of turn to November 11th and Remembrance Day. And with that, we commemorate and we honor those that have fought in World War II, World War I, any war, for the freedom that we enjoy now. They fought for that. They gave their lives, whether they survived or didn't. All of them sacrificed themselves for our benefit. And on November 11th, we commemorate that. And Sudbury.com, story to start your days. Basically, if you're going to get your poppy, which I do have, you can't see it because it's behind the camera. Right there. Oh, see, it's opposite. It's behind my microphone, actually. Between my mic's between the camera and me. And a good hearted colleague here at work gave this to me, and I really appreciate it. Natalie says, yeah, so exactly, never thought of it as celebrating it as Satan, correct? But there's some nefarious background stuff in Halloween if you look into its origins and stuff. So I know many people that just refuse to celebrate kind of any holiday, because it's, whatever. But we don't want to take the fun out of, just the idea of being part of the community and enjoying something. And we just look at the fun side of it, right? Kind of thing. November first I start my Christmas decorating. So bring on the flurries. I don't want a blizzard, but flurries makes it look beautiful. And that's true. For a while, I can handle that for a while. That's coming from YouTube. That's Pam, I believe. Denise says, if your loved one has never had a 21 gun salute and is a vet or serviceman, call the Silver Star Riflemen. They will come to do a 21 gun salute. I did not know this. That's pretty cool, actually. Unfortunately, both my grandfathers are not with us anymore. If I would have known that back in the day, I might have suggested it. Belinda says, evil is trying very hard to obliterate God from our lives in any form that they can. As a child in school, it was wonderful to recite the Lord's Prayer at the beginning of the day. And I'm sure many people hold your same point of view. And I'm sure many people don't as well, because I know just from my own cross-section of acquaintances and friends, I've heard all sides with that. But it's interesting what we have today in its place, right? Is that right as well? So we talked about that on the show, taking it out of the schools, but what do we replace it with? Anytime, years past, still come to do it for their honor. I didn't know that. So like a 21 gun salute thing. So here's Sudbury.com says, buy a poppy from Max Topolniski. I even practiced saying his name, Max Topolniski. And wish him 100th happy birthday, being 100 years old. The annual Royal Canadian Legion poppy sales campaign is underway. And in Sudbury, that means you might get a chance to say happy 100th birthday to Max Topolniski, a longtime Legion member and Canadian Army veteran. Topolniski was out at the Long Lake Road Walmart Friday selling poppies to members of the public, as he has done for several years in the past. He says people have to appreciate the freedom and democracy we have in Canada. Appreciate this. So the former Sudbury miner was born on November 19th, 1923. November 19th, 1923, on a farm near Dauphin, Manitoba. And he looks forward to celebrating his 100th birthday next month. Although he had several family members already celebrating his 100th during the warmer weather earlier this year, when it was easier for people to travel. Smart on that. So if you see Max at the Walmart, make sure to wish him a happy 100th birthday while you're buying your poppy. That is amazing, Marianne, for sure. Okay, perfect. I appreciate it, Denise. That's awesome. Yeah, happy birthday to Max. That's so amazing. And thank you for your service, by the way, and all those who served our country. I think, just by the way our society acts as a whole, I feel we've kind of lost touch and lost our gratitude and lost our even sense of what they fought for. And it's really important to remember. And that's why it's called Remembrance Day. And as you know, our Prime Minister just made the declaration that, well, it wasn't the Prime Minister, it was the Canadian military, but I think coming from the top down, that there will be no more prayer as part of any Remembrance Day celebrations, because it's offensive to people. And you need to be more inclusive. So you need to exclude certain people to include other people. So it's not all inclusive, it's just partially inclusive. So that's where we're going, though. So we'll see if there's one city councillor in the country who could stand up to this kind of stuff a little bit later in the show. So stay tuned for that. The future's brighter for downtown. That's Sudbury, says business owner, although not exactly thrilled about vacating the downtown property at Alexandria's Restaurant and Lounge has occupied it for 32 years. As we know, the city purchased that property, or is purchasing that property. Owner Mohammed Zodi says he sees the greater good. He says, it's my baby. The building he's speaking of, which the Greater City of Sudbury announced October 24th, plans to purchase and demolish alongside other area properties by the end of next year. However, Zodi added that he sees the merit in the city's downtown land purchase, and he said, we're very happy because I think the future's brighter for downtown, adding that he hopes to see the city bring more development to the city's downtown core as Alexandria's restaurant and lounge. Zodi said that he plans on developing a brand new building to house the popular eatery. It will be close to the city's downtown, he confirmed. So that's pretty awesome. We know we have many businesses that are there. The bakery, I know a lot of people were very upset that Golden Grain Bakery become a staple of Sudbury. Whenever you see new development or new things moving forward, there's always some kind of casualty in that. And, I know that I have members of my family that are just totally mourn the fact that we might be moving towards a new arena rather than keeping the old arena. And I know many people are in that, have that train of thought. Okay, so Marianne says, yes, I always thank a vet for their service, and I respect them and what they fought for. Same here, Marianne. Belinda says, I hope that everybody who attends Remembrance Day incites and says a prayer loud and clear. Well, again, right, that's interesting because if you're not the one who's in charge of it, it'd be kind of hard to do, right? And the ones who are in charge have strict orders not to do it. It's going to be very difficult unless there's a group of people who organize who have their own prayer beside it or around it. And then we're living in a society where I think people have been arrested just for saying silent prayers outside certain institutions inside their head, not even saying it out loud. The police officer said, what are you doing? They say, well, I'm saying a prayer inside my head. Well, you're not allowed to do that. You're under arrest. And yes, that is true. That has happened. And if you don't think it's happened, I'll get the video for you and play it. That's where we're at in our world today. Coming to a community near you soon. Marianne says, I agree 1,000%. Say it loud. Good morning, Claire. Thanks for being with us. Denise, have courage and just do it for sure. It's all about courage, right? Courage to not just go along with the crowd. If the crowd's doing the wrong thing, why would you do the wrong thing? You never know. You might be on an edition of Candid Camera and you don't realize it. Maybe this whole life is like Candid Camera and we're seeing if we're just going to face the back wall of the elevator instead of, just thinking for ourselves and having common sense, or not taking off our clothes in the waiting room of the doctor's office, like the Candid Camera episodes did. Okay, so Denise, they can jail us all. Exactly, Marianne says. Chaplains were on ground zero in World War II, giving comfort and last rites to our brave heroes. The government has an agenda. Don't let evil prevail. Yeah, if you're stopping people from praying to someone, who are they stopping you praying to? Which would mean, they're getting in between you and who you're speaking with. And I don't think that person or that entity will be too happy with the person who's stopping that from happening. But future will tell that, I'm sure. The monkey see, monkey do has to stop, Denise says. Pam on YouTube, I don't pray and I don't follow any one religion. However, I would never tell anyone not to pray. If I don't believe in prayer, why get mad that someone is praying? Let them be. So I guess you're one of these that Justin Trudeau would be speaking of, that he's worried that you're going to get offended. So I guess he didn't consult you first. And speaking of prayer and religion and all of that, the messy side of it, what's going on between Israel and Palestine, right? There was chants such as free Palestine. So this was calls for a ceasefire at Sudbury Palestine solidarity rally. And from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, echoed in downtown Sudbury, October 28th, as hundreds of Sudburyans gathered for a Palestinian solidarity rally. The Sudbury event was held in light of the 3-week-old war in the Middle East. A nonpartisan vigil of peace, as well as a vigil for peace for the Jewish community, have also been held in Sudbury in recent weeks. The Hamas-run Health Ministry now reports more than 7,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war. More than 1,400 people in Israel have been killed, mostly civilians who died in the initial Hamas rampage into southern Israel. In addition, 222 people, including foreigners, were believed captured by Hamas during the incursion, Israel's military has said. A vote at the United Nations General Assembly on October 27th saw an overwhelming majority of the world's nations call for a de-escalation and immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Canada abstained from the final vote after an amendment to the UN resolution condemning the Hamas attacks and demanding the safe release of hostages was rejected. So Canada abstained from the final vote after an amendment to the UN resolution condemning the Hamas attacks and demanding the safe release of hostages was rejected. We are all here today to come as one to march for peace and humanity, said the Sudbury rally organizer representing Palestine Solidarity Sudbury. So then you have the 3 rallies, right? You have the one for those of the Jewish community. Then you recently had ones from the Palestinian side. And then you had a nonpartisan vigil for peace, which if I was to go to any one of these, that would be at least where I stand. I stand for them all because everybody is a loser when it comes to war. And my heart goes out to anyone who's affected in any negative way by this conflict. And if we don't look at it in a peaceful way, at least if we're not totally entrenched in it, meaning we don't live there or we're not from there per se, then we need to not let it escalate anywhere else other than there, which there's a good chance that it can. It has the ability to do that. And so we need to be very peaceful, very open. And I don't know about taking sides. I guess if you're a Palestinian, how could you not take the side of that? Or if you're from Israel, how could you not take a side? But even then, I'd like to think that I'd like to take a broader view of things and look at what the peaceful solution would be. Not that I'd have all the answers, but at the same time, I wouldn't want violence to answer violence, kind of thing. It's never good. Nobody wins in war. That's what I guess the theme of the show is today. As Remembrance Day is upon us after Halloween. So Denise says, I also don't do religion, but I do believe in hearts. Appreciate the statement. Belinda says, the United States and Canada have had their hand in Ukraine and Israel supporting nefarious agendas. And that's looking at the whole picture, correct? We're looking at the big picture, if you will. And that's why it's kind of hard to take a hard stand on one way or the other when you're telling one other kind of people they're absolute evil, that there's no good and it's all evil, and you're just talking in absolutes like that. There's really no room for understanding and hearing the other side, and we have to do that on both sides. You just have to, or else the other way of being is just not going to lead us into a good place. If you think our Canadian government is corrupt, just imagine the corruption in Israel tenfold. Again, I think a good chunk of most of the world's governments at this point probably, I'm just taking a stab at it, a big wild guess, fall into that category. That's just me. I could be wrong. Okay, so again, that's what I mean. So they're all part of that club. And by club, they're using, some have bigger clubs than others. But coming back a little bit to Halloween and Sudbury, the pre-Halloween zombie fun at Cape Rail's Railroad Museum is going on. The Northern Ontario Railroad Museum was the place to be this weekend. Family-friendly pre-Halloween fun. The events were themed around the zombie movie, Zombie Town, which featured Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, which was filmed partially in Cape Rail and other parts of Sudbury. So if you haven't seen that movie, it's called Zombie Town. You can look for the places in Sudbury that look familiar to you that are represented in the movie. Marianne says, oh, absolutely, 100%. They are all a part of it. Thanks, Marianne. Okay, so Sudbury.news, where you have your news aggregated into one convenient location. That's Sudbury.news. CBC is reporting paper mill shutdown. That's in Espanola, starting to sink in for Espanola and 450 workers. Hundreds of workers in Espanola are facing layoffs in the coming months, while there are rumors that the Northern Ontario town's paper mill could be saved from shutdown. Now, I guess there's rumors, can't confirm it yet, but some people have been going through the mill, looking through it. They've been giving tours. And the idea is that these are possible potential buyers for the mill, but those rumors cannot be confirmed. And from inside sources that I heard, it's highly improbable that that's going to happen, as there's a lot of issues surrounding. It would take a lot of capital to get the mill up to where it needs to be and to be profitable and yada yada. But anyways, I can have more on that in later shows. But for right now, I want to get to our story of the day that covers, what we've been talking about this whole show, and standing up for things that you believe in, and then allowing others to do the same, right? We can take a particular councillor in municipal politics in Southern Ontario, and Harrison Faulkner will go over that for us in his segment that he hosts called Ratioed on True North News, and we'll be back right after this.
Have you ever asked yourself why it feels as though we are losing the culture war in this country? Why so few people seem willing to stand up and speak the truth in the face of such obvious nonsense? Of course, part of the reason for this is what I would consider to be an epidemic of cowardice on the right. The trembling fear which seems to grip so many politicians who call themselves conservatives from ever actually speaking up for conservative causes and, frankly, for common sense. Another reason for this is that for what feels like decades, conservatives have simply neglected municipal politics altogether. Not only do conservatives not run for council and school board seats in this country, but many just don't even pay attention to municipal politics at all. In many cases, municipal politics has more of an influence on daily life than any other level of politics in this country, and the radical left knows that. Petty tyrants who routinely employ Marxist tactics to enforce ideological purity on school boards and councils end up advancing absurd policies that few Canadians ever actually want, and fewer ever know about. Every now and then, however, someone shows up with the courage to actually do something, to actually make a positive change that constituents 1. This is one of the most insane stories happening in Canada right now, and few people know about it. I want to introduce you all to Ward 1 Pickering City Councillor Lisa Robinson for introducing motions on the council floor to ban the raising of the pride flag on municipal buildings and to put an age limit on drag shows taking place inside municipal properties. Lisa Robinson has been suspended without pay for 60 days. This 60-day suspension is on top of a previous 30-day suspension because of Facebook posts which accuse Robinson of promoting bullying. The reason for the latest 60-day suspension, according to Pickering's Integrity Commissioner, is that Robinson promoted attitudes which are homophobic and transphobic. An elected official being suspended from doing her job because she is promoting attitudes which are homophobic and transphobic. This story would make sense if it were happening in China, but instead, it's happening in Pickering, Ontario. Sheer and utter insanity. Drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this: why have conservatives neglected municipal politics? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. Lisa Robinson's story is not the first story we have seen of councils across the country employing these Marxist strategies to enforce ideological purity on council. Take, for example, the insane story of Murray Harbour, Prince Edward Island councillor John Robertson. Murray Harbour is a village in PEI of 260 people. And Councillor John Robertson is facing calls for his removal from public office by the mayor of Murray Harbour, along with a Liberal senator in Ottawa, all for the crime of having a sign on his front lawn which says that the mass grave story was a hoax and to call to redeem the legacy of Sir John A. Macdonald. Not only is Robertson facing calls for his removal from public office because of the sign, but he's also forced to undergo literal re-education, and a third-party investigative team has been called in to look into the matter. We've seen examples like this across the country, but the story of Lisa Robinson should scare every Canadian. For advancing motions in front of the City Council, which her constituents are asking her to do, she is being punished and suspended without pay. Her livelihood is being taken away for doing the job she was elected by the people to do. Because Robertson has introduced motions to ban the flying of the pride flag on public buildings, to enforce an age limit for drag shows taking place on public property, and for making sure that there are separate change rooms for men and women while keeping the universal change room at a local rec facility, all of those together, along with the fact that Robinson has a lot of public support behind her, she is now losing her salary. And I want to show you some highlights of the Pickering City Council meeting that took place on Monday when Lisa Robinson was informed that she would be suspended for 60 days. Listen to how the city's Integrity Commissioner and wannabe petty tyrant Mayor Kevin Ash treat Lisa Robinson as she's trying to understand why she is being suspended for doing her job.
Regarding the Chestnut Hill Recreation Center, again, the complex, the Universal Change Room, have you ever been there?
That's not relevant. Please go
No,
on.
it is relevant.
Please go on. Please go on.
Okay, what steps did you take to distinguish between hearsay and reliable evidence while conducting your investigation?
Janice, you can feel free to answer that or not. So
Yeah, I'm going to pass, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. There's one meeting. I'm the chair. If you don't like the rules, please leave. I've asked you a number of times to do that. I won't ask again.
All due respect, Mr. Mayor, my questions are directed to the Integrity Commissioner, and because so much is on the line, I would prefer if she would answer the questions as opposed to you.
You can ask questions of clarity. You're getting into debate about the findings. Ask questions of clarity.
That's a question of clarity.
Please-
What steps? I
please
want to
continue.
know what steps she
She said
took
no,
to
please
distinguish.
continue.
Can you clarify the reasons behind not contacting any witnesses or gathering concrete evidence in this particular
I
complaint?
think that question's been asked and given. Please continue. You can please leave. Please leave. Mr. King, can you please get this? Thank you.
We all really know what's happening here, right? Because Lisa Robinson seems to be the only city councillor in the province of Ontario who is willing to fight the cultural battles, to stand up and speak out on behalf of her constituents, the Pickering City Council is trying to make an example out of her, trying to show to everyone else that if you speak out of line, you will lose your salary, you will lose your way of life. Well, joining us now on the show is Lisa Robinson, Ward 1 Pickering City Councillor. Lisa, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me here today, Harrison. I really appreciate it.
So you've been suspended without pay for 60 days, which is on top of a 30-day suspension. And according to the city integrity commissioner, it's because you have promoted attitudes which are homophobic and transphobic. I mean, this doesn't even sound real. Explain to us what's happening with you and what's happening at the Pickering City Council.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Back in May, I was trying to bring 3 motions forward. One of them had to do with drag shows and pride events, that I wanted to make them age appropriate. So anyone under the age of 18 would not be able to attend these type of events. And I chose the age of 18 because I was hoping that, there would be some kind of a negotiation going on. And I was willing to drop that down after speaking to many of my constituents to the ages of 14 or 15 at a time where the students are more mentally prepared, more physically prepared to handle, that kind of sexual content. Another motion that I wanted to bring forward had to do with the flags. And that, being a government, being an elected official, being a government, just being the government in general, I guess you could say, is that, we're supposed to remain neutral. And so a lot of people, and this was actually based on the town of Norwich's decision that was passed about a month prior, is that they would no longer be flying any special interest flags because it does create a hierarchy of beliefs. And within our own Pickering policies for flag raising and flag displays, it says we're not allowed to fly any flags that are politically controversial. We're not allowed to fly any flags that come with ideological beliefs. So, I mean, that just made sense that, we'll follow suit and make it neutral because, as you can see, the uproar around the country right now regarding the flags always being flown. The third motion that I was trying to bring forward had to do with the Pickering Recreation Center, which is called the Chestnut Hill Recreation Center. And for there, I was just trying to bring forward a motion that would allow every boy, girl, woman, man, every person really, the ability to choose which change room, washroom that they felt more comfortable in. So, if a biological female wanted to go to a biological female, she would have that choice. But within that motion, I said to also have the universal change room inclusive of all genders and family. Because of those 3 motions and because of the way that my fellow city councilors and a school trustee here in Durham decided to put in their complaints to the integrity commissioner, they were saying that I wanted to ban all events or restrict all events that had to do with the LGBTQ plus community. They said that I wanted to ban the flying of the pride flag and the progress flag, which was nowhere in my motions either. I said all special interest groups. And then they said that I wanted to get rid of the universal change room. But in my videos and within my motions, you will see all 3 of those are unequivocally untrue. And so with those reports going to the integrity commissioner based her own opinions. The whole entire report is based on those lies that were put forth from the complaints, but also her own opinions and her own biases, because those complainants weren't even there at the DDSB meeting when I was speaking, which means that everything in her report is based on double hearsay, again, her own opinion and her own biases.
Right. So I just showed the audience part of the municipal meeting, the council meeting, in which this integrity commissioner is refusing to answer your questions, and the mayor is telling the integrity commissioner what questions of yours she can answer. It's like some sort of weird, it's like they're like tag teaming up against you to try and create this outcome they want. You're saying that the integrity commissioner, based on the complaints she received about your motion to make sure that everyone has a washroom and a change room which they can use in safety, she's never actually been to the rec center to see these washrooms?
She has not. That was one of the questions that I was trying to bring forward. I mean, I went there, I took photos of it, I had the complaints. And yeah, she's never even been there. And I mean, it was like, back in school, back in the day, we used to crawl under to bug our friends or climb over the stall and give them a wave. Well, that's exactly what you can do here as well. And I'm not too sure, but there's actually an investigation going on right now about one of the universities with the co-ed, with the universal washrooms that they have there, where they are, a couple of people are being investigated right now for doing just that, putting the cameras underneath the doors because there's a lot of room, and it's voyeurism, right? I think the Toronto Star or someone just posted that, so.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
I mean, the job of a city councilor is to introduce motions that the constituents that voted them in want them to do, right? That's what you're supposed to do as your job. And I'm assuming most of these motions were, you introduced them because the people who voted you in to do the job you're doing wanted you to introduce those motions. This is what people wanted you to bring forward, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, all three of these motions that I'm bringing forward, constituents have come to me with their concerns and asked me to bring these forward. And it's unfortunate that I can't even get them to the floor because none of my fellow councillors want to even entertain having any kind of a debate. And I'm finding that happens a lot these days, is that people are afraid to have the debate. They're afraid to have the conversation. Instead, they would just like to turn around and call you a name, label you something, just like the integrity commissioner called me a cis woman.
It's absurd. And I mean, they could, as you say, they could just vote down your motions, couldn't they? They could just allow you to do your job, allow you to be paid for the job you were elected to do, and vote down your motions. But no, they're taking it one step further. They're trying to make, it appears at least, they're trying to make an example out of you so no one else, whether it's in Pickering or whether it's in other councils and other jurisdictions, does the same. Is that what you're kind of getting?
Well, that's exactly, what you're saying is exactly what they are putting out. And in the history of Pickering, for as far as our city clerk, when her and I had a conversation, she said nothing like this has ever happened in the city of Pickering before. And I mean, if you go through everything that's happened to Pickering in the past, people have been up on fraud charges. There's been a lot of wrongdoings that have happened in Pickering politics, over the years, and not one time has anybody ever been forced to lose their pay.
It's just unbelievable. Have you received any support from politicians outside of Pickering? I'm assuming that the council is almost all against you, but have you received support from politicians, maybe in the provincial level or federal level, or maybe just outside of Pickering for the stand you've taken?
I'm getting an overwhelming amount of support right now. I mean, the emails, I'm getting them from all across Canada, from all the different provinces, whether it's Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. I'm getting an overwhelming amount of support right now. It's incredible. I mean, there's the majority of people want to see this go through. I mean, even alone this morning, I've probably had at least 50 emails from, different individuals and from, other counselors like myself in other jurisdictions, reaching out to me and saying, well, you know what, Lisa, stand strong. You have a lot more support than and please don't stop fighting for us. A lot of them are even quite emotional.
Yeah, I can imagine. As a municipal politician, you know that a lot of what you do at the municipal level has more of an impact on the daily lives of Canadians than provincial and federal politics does. But there are so few of you. There are so few conservatives at the municipal level, at least in these larger towns and cities, especially again at the school board level as well. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it is that conservatives seem to neglect the municipal level and don't even pay attention to what's happening at the level that impacts their daily lives so much?
Yeah, it's really sad that, we're not getting more conservatives in at this level. Or, I think it's also that they're also being infiltrated, kind of like what they were saying about, Justin Trudeau's government about being infiltrated, like, what Klaus Schwab was saying there. I think the same thing is happening in municipal level, but I'm also starting to see it happen at the provincial and the federal levels as well. Like, for example, our conservative EDA that we have going on here in Pickering, you can see the people that are going to be running for the nomination, you know, they're liberals, you know, even their backgrounds. I mean, they're using red colors, and it's like, you know, if you want to at least pretend to be a conservative, you know what, go with the conservative blue and not a red background. But it's happening everywhere. I don't know why. I don't know why. And I mean, I thought that the mayor was conservative, who was sitting with us. And you can see now, and a lot of people have been reaching out to me and saying, you know what, our mayor is no longer conservative. The way that alone that, you know, that I was being treated in that video, and the way that, you know, a man was talking down to me, and, you know, one of the mayor, you know, I'm sorry, but I find that that is not a way that a conservative behaves. That is more of the way, you know, other kind of people behave. Like, you know, just want to shut you down from the conversation.
And that's just telling of the whole situation in this whole movement. It's not just the 2S LGBTQ plus community. It's everything on the left that thinks it's all about diversity and inclusion, unless you don't agree with them, and then you're outed, you're canceled, you're shut down, you lose your job, you're done. Whatever harm someone can do, like the mayor was coming across, like raising his voice to a woman. He's a big man. Like, no one has a problem with that as long as he agrees with the Marxist ideology that is what we've become in our leftist society currently, and that ideology that we all accept, that unless you agree with us, you know, our so all-inclusive society that's really not inclusive, as you've seen. So common sense doesn't belong in the all-inclusive society, and you can't question anything. You can't have a conversation. It's not all-inclusive. It's very exclusive. One exclusive style of thought. It's Marxist ideology that compartmentalizes people into victims and the oppressor and the oppressed. And right here you see this particular lady was oppressed by the oppressor, but they don't acknowledge that because it's very hypocritical as well. Only they can be the victims. They are the only ones who are bullied. No one else is bullied, ever. Right? But everything you say that goes against anything they believe is bullying. But they'll see actual bullying, which took place in this council meeting, and say, it's okay, though. It's okay because she's not one of us. So it's okay to bully her in our all-inclusive, cuddly, friendly, you know, very hypocritical world, unicorn world that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I've seen so many hateful people on the left. They're very hateful, spiteful. They'll call and make complaints to get someone's job, you know, get them removed from their job if they heard them saying something. Things like that. They're like snitchy people. Remember the people in class? I'm telling. That's who's in power right now. It just is what it is. And crazy that our society's become like that. And you saw the first counselor out east who basically put that sign up on his thing. It's very controversial though, right? It says mass grave hoax. There was a politician who wanted to put that forth as saying it would be illegal to claim that there's a mass grave hoax out there. My heart is with the Indigenous people of this country. I'm very close to the culture and people of the Indigenous backgrounds, like you wouldn't believe. We haven't seen one body though. There hasn't been one body. So I just asked that. It's not a hateful thing that I would say. It's really kind of sparked a lot of hate. And a lot of people are just in a consensus that there are mass graves. They just are, because the CBC exists. And they tell people, they don't say it like that, but they say it, insinuate that there's mass graves out there for sure. No, there's speculation that there might be mass graves. So that's just the truth. It's not hateful to say that. And if there are, and there could be, I'm not even saying that there might not be mass graves out there. There very well could be, because it wasn't a good situation, these residential schools. And it wasn't cool that one society wants to come over and just assimilate a whole other one into their culture. There's a lot of bad things there. But let's keep truth, please. Let's not, you know, make emotional statements that are going to get everybody hot and bothered and politicize and weaponize these things, and then go ahead as if it's absolute truth and not let this counselor even be able to speak when she said full on, what her proposal had in it that she was putting forward, and they were lying about what she said, making lies against her. That's another thing that's hypocritical from the far left side. They have no problem lying whatsoever. Just lie. And then you try and hold them on it. And like at this council, they don't allow it to happen because they're the ones in power now. You're in power. So speaking truth to power, you're the one in power. So who does most of the bullying? Who are really the oppressed today? Right? So really, let's look at how hypocritical you are. And let's look at that. And let's say, are you using the same ruler for everything? If you're saying people are bullying you, could you possibly be bullying other people as well? Just to look at that, just to kind of consider that for 1 second. Maybe you've bullied someone. Maybe you picked up the phone one time and called on a radio show host and said, I'm offended by what this person said and he should lose his job. Were you ever doing something like that? You know, I would never do that to you because you believe a certain thing. You know, never. I would never think of having somebody's livelihood taken away from them because they think different than me. That's you really do need to kind of question your own thinking here and ask yourself, that's pretty dangerous where you're at. And it's not good. And now society is becoming more and more like that. And it's the norm. It's the elevator and everyone's facing the back wall kind of thing. And yeah, it's not cool. And it's not going to be fun in the future if we don't do something about it. So thanks for being with us today, everyone. It was a difficult conversation for maybe some to have. I welcome anyone's comments. I welcome people calling in and wanting me to get fired from my job. If that's what you want to do, that's great. I'll never do that to you. But in your all-inclusive, world, I'm not included in it, right? So it's not all-inclusive. So maybe we have to change that tagline at some point. And there's many people who aren't included in it as well. So it's a little bit hypocritical of a tagline for a movement. It's not all-inclusive. It's partially inclusive. Okay, but with that, I'm all-inclusive, and I welcome anyone to the show. Anyone can comment, and your comments are valued, no matter what side of the ideology you're on, or what kind of perspective you have. It's welcomed here, even if I don't agree with it. And I welcome debating. I think debating is healthy. I think argument isn't when you say argument, it sounds negative, but there's an art to, it's like a debate. An argument is actually a very healthy thing to actually talk about things, to get to the bottom of stuff. And you can see just this whole far left side just trying to shut the conversation down. A big man yelling at a woman, telling her to shut up and get out. And she was elected to represent her constituents, and she's not allowed to do that because she asked questions of the person that's going to reprimand her, where she got her information from. She's not allowed to ask that. That's the world we're going into, and hopefully you'll have a lot of fun with that. If you don't stand up and do something about it, that's what you can expect happening to you. And even if you're on the far left, you'll see that coming for you one day too. You think you support it right now, but someone will be calling to cancel you one day as well. So have a great Monday, everyone. See you same time, same place, God willing, tomorrow on the show. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.